AI is replacing human activity faster than you may think. Hello, I'm Anand Naidu, and this is The Heat. Artificial intelligence is predicted to grow increasingly pervasive as technology develops, revolutionizing sectors from healthcare to warfare. The threat that machines will one day take over has been the subject of science fiction movies for decades. Now, some leading AI scientists are concerned that AI Armageddon could one day become reality. We begin with this report from CGTN's Dan Williams.
Across the vast Collision 2024 conference floor, there is one key topic that dominates the rest.
Well, everyone's talking about AI.
I think everyone keeps talking about AI. It's AI.
Artificial intelligence, or AI, is technology that enables computers and machines to simulate human intelligence and problem-solving capabilities. It's already revolutionizing industries. From writing apps to machine learning, AI is here to stay. But one of the so-called godfathers of AI, Geoffrey Hinton, who left Google last year, remains concerned about the future impacts of advanced AI systems.
As I left Google, I figured I could just warn that the existential threat, the threat that in the long run, these things get smarter than us and might go rogue, that's not science fiction, that's real.
Hinton also points to the potential good of AI and how it will help us, especially in healthcare. But he is concerned that eventually AI will make decisions, that humans are deficient in most things, if not expendable. Concern over artificial intelligence, the machines taking over and threatening humanity, has long been a topic of conversation. And there's no doubt concern around AI is likely to continue for the foreseeable future. But not everyone here shares that doomsday scenario. Nazrin Mustafazadeh has worked in AI for more than 2 decades and is co-founder of Venique, a deep tech startup. She doesn't see the threat the same way.
I personally believe that a lot of concerns over AI becoming sentient are incredibly kind of overblown out of proportion. It's just like anything else. Like whenever a new technology triggers the society, there's this moment of hype, which comes with a lot of stress because it's unknown, right? When you don't know what could happen, you're very far from that doomsday scenario. And the more oxygen that conversation gets from the room, the further we go from the real impact of AI that we all can use on a day-to-day basis.
Governments around the world are already drafting legislation to regulate AI. And that's a welcome sign, according to Protect AI's Ian Swanson, a company that enables organizations to deploy safe and secure AI applications.
I don't know if I quite agree to the doomsday scenario that a lot of people have painted. But what I will say is we need to have guardrails around AI. And if we have that, and we understand how it's made and why it's making the decisions that it is, those are guardrails that make it more safe, more trusted, and more secure. If we don't have those guardrails, then yes, I think there's a lot of risk with AI.
AI is already having an impact, from ChatGPT, the chat box that writes text, to finance apps. But longer term, computer scientists like Hinton believe the threat posed by advanced AI systems remains ominously clear. Dan Williams, CGTN, Toronto.
There is much to talk about. Let's get to our panel. Alex Mashrabov is the founder and CEO of Higgsfield AI. Andy Mock is a senior research fellow at the Center for China and Globalization. Also with us is Awadallah. He's the founder and CEO of Vectara, a generative AI platform. And Emil Protalinski is a tech journalist. He serves as an editor for both Techmeme and FiToSci. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. Emil, you spoke earlier at the Collision 2024 conference. What are your key takeaways from that gathering?
I'd say my key takeaways, well, first of all, people are sad that the event is over and Collision is no more. The event is now moving to Vancouver and will be called Web Summit Vancouver. That aside, there were a lot of interesting developments, as there always are, in mobility and defense tech, blockchain, developer tools, security. But of course, everything else was related to AI. And then I think the third takeaway is nobody could really agree whether we are in an AI bubble or not.
Right, and what do you make of those concerns raised that machines will one day take over and threaten humanity?
I mean, I land somewhere in the middle. I think that that's not going to happen. But I think that the reason it won't happen is because we will make sure it doesn't, right? I don't think that humanity will allow it to happen. Is it feasible and technically possible at some point in the future? Yes. But we would have to all become unable to stop it from happening. But like with any new technology, I agree with the comments earlier. Like with any new technology, there are always concerns about the developments. And there are good reasons for those concerns. But they often end up being overblown. That doesn't mean we should dismiss them. We should just set regulations and guardrails in place to make sure that things don't get out of hand. So AI is a threat to humanity, like any other tool could be a threat. And ultimately, that's what AI is. It's just a tool. So it's moving very quickly. Developments are happening, at breakneck speeds. And we just need to make sure that it doesn't get away from us. And frankly, I don't see any indication that it is getting away from us.
Alex, of course, there's a lot of jargon in all of this technology, and something we're hearing about right now is called artificial general intelligence. And it's looked at and seen as one of the holy grails of AI development. Specifically, it refers to very strong AI systems that are capable of learning to do any job simply by being asked to do that job, not being told how to do that job. I mean, how far are we away from that reality? Alex, can you hear me?
Yes, definitely. AGI is on top of minds for everyone. I think a lot of startups promise to deliver AGI in the next 3-5 years. Although we have not seen any glimpse of that, we have not seen any signs of this happening just yet. The idea of AGI is that the system will be able to improve itself over the time. So far, we're seeing that AI can solve medium-level coding challenges, but it is not able to replace engineers. And I'm not seeing how AI can actually improve itself.
Awadallah, AI is already with us. We see innovations in that field. They continue to shape our future. And as Emil told us a moment ago, these developments and progress is taking place at breakneck speed. AI is already being used in processing big data and robotics as well. I mean, what is your focus at your company, Vectara? I mean, what exactly is generative AI?
Generative AI is this new wave. It's this new wave of AI that not only can analyze data, but can produce data, can generate data, right? So generate an image, generate a character, generate text, generate a legal contract, generate a medical diagnosis, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what generative AI is. And this is the new wave that has been unlocked over the last 2 years, is the wave of generative AI. One of the key problems that Vectara, my company, is focused on is creating trusted generative AI. So the problem with many of these generative AI systems is they are susceptible to something called hallucinations. Hallucinations is where they can make up stuff that's not factual, that's not correct, but they say it in a way that is so convincing that you believe it's correct. And of course, that can be very dangerous in a business context. If you're generating a legal contract or generating a medical diagnosis or generating an accounting statement for a bank, you cannot have misfactual stuff in there. Mm-hmm. So we focus on that problem, meaning how to enable generative AI for regulated industries like banks, like telecom companies, like hospitals. And then we solve a number of the other problems they care about, like security, explainability of the results. You cannot just give me an answer, tell me how you came up with this answer, mitigating copyrighted information from being produced by the system, et cetera, et cetera.
Right, now, when you say, you sort of put in those guardrails to prevent incorrect information from the AI system being disseminated, I mean, how do you do that? Because the AI system is working off what you've actually put in the first place, right?
That is correct. So that's why we're working off of factual data that the customers provide to us. So our customers give us data that they have curated to be what the truth is, and then the AI system or the AI assistants we built try to stay as honest as possible to that source data. So let me give you a simple example. One of our customers is a company called Sonosem. Sonosem, they help radiologists use ultrasound machines. When you're using an ultrasound machine, there is so many factors you have to take into account when calibrating it. The heart rate, the age, the type of person, the type of thing you're checking for, race, male, gender, et cetera, can be very hard. So they curated a very clean data set of all of the best practices for how to do that, loaded that into Vectara, into our system, and then now what they sell back to their customers, the radiologist, is an AI assistant that is able to answer any question about ultrasound machines and always checks itself against that source data. So you're absolutely right. If the source data is fake, the AI will still give you fake answers. So you need to make sure that you have good source data.
Yeah, and if you take something, a lot simpler, for instance, if I wanted to generate a contract, I want to sell my property, and I want to generate a contract for the buyer, is that available right now?
Yes and no. So that's available right now, but most AI systems that do that today will tell you still should read the contract we produced because something in that contract we produced might be off. They cannot tell you with accuracy, yes, take this contract, give it back to the other person, and you're done. And that is what we're all trying to crack, is reaching the point where we with confidence can give you the contract and say, this is it, take it and just give it to whoever you want, you're going to be okay.
Okay, Andy Mock, great to have you with us, Andy. The managing director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva, she says that the development of AI will play a significant role in solving the problem of low productivity. Let's listen to some of what she had to say.
The problem we face of low productivity and weak growth needs a solution, and artificial intelligence can be a big part of this solution. It can increase productivity tremendously. What we recommend is that we act early to prepare for this world that is already here, in which artificial intelligence plays an increasingly significant role. And we look at 4 things: digital infrastructure, human capital, innovation, regulation, and ethics. And when we look in a comprehensive way, what I can say to your viewers is that China, among the emerging markets, is best prepared.
So, Andy, China is becoming the world's major AI innovation center, and it wants to become that by 2030. That's an industry worth $150 billion. I mean, where are you seeing the most use of AI?
Sure. Well, Anand, I think while that number sounds impressive, it might actually be understating the effect we see from AI. And here's why. I'd like to make 3 points here. I think, first of all, a lot of the hand-wringing or gloating, depending on which side you're on with this, that China is actually lagging behind in AI because of the restrictions on access to the most advanced chips for developing and training AI models. A lot of these primarily are from NVIDIA. That this gloating or hand-wringing actually might not be justified, because as we heard about hallucinations, other problems with AI, it's not just because of the hardware. A lot of times it's the access to quality data and the training of the model. And the example I use is that you can think of a child who's born gifted, but if that child does not receive the best nutrition and the best education, he or she will be outperformed with someone with less physical endowments, but has better nutrition, better training. And China brings important, if not singular, strengths to the training of AI models, as well as the access to data. So that's my first point. The second point related to productivity is China's emphasis is not on consumer-facing applications or even enterprise applications, which has gotten a lot of the attention with ChatGPT, et cetera. But instead, it's focused on industrial applications, meaning areas like manufacturing, like healthcare, like logistics, smart cities.
Right.
And I think this will be powerful for productivity growth. And then finally, China graduates something like 3.6 million STEM graduates a year. The US graduates about 800,000, less than a quarter of that, and many of those are from China. And this is incredibly important, technical domain expertise to take full advantage of AI. So when we put these three together, I think I absolutely agree with the statement that China will, I think, play a very, very important role in realizing the productivity gains of artificial intelligence.
Right, Emil, Andy raises some interesting points there on the actual application of AI technology. You know, we often talk more about the doomsday aspect of AI and what could happen if it takes over and starts controlling our lives. But there's some real-world examples of AI which could help us in our day-to-day lives. I mean, the Guardian newspaper reports that researchers have developed a new blood test that uses AI to predict Parkinson's disease. It could tell if a person is going to get Parkinson's, and it could predict that 7 years before that person begins to show any kind of symptoms. I mean, that's just one AI application in the health sector. I mean, what are these kinds of breakthroughs? I mean, what can we expect?
We can expect a lot. I will just add to the China commentary. I think it's important to remember that AI is a very broad term, and it can mean all sorts of things from, you know, machine learning to LLMs to computer vision. And I think China is actually ahead in certain aspects of AI. For example, I believe there was a New York Times story couple weeks ago, wherein China was testing more driverless cars than any other country. That's still, you know, AI. But to get to your question around healthcare and any medical breakthroughs we can expect, I mean, we've seen plenty, not just with Parkinson's, but also with Alzheimer's and various cancers. We've seen plenty of progress around early detection of other diseases. Mental health treatments, you know, personalized mRNA vaccines. I think those developments are going to keep coming, also at a very quick speed. But as with anything, especially to do with health, it's always very, very early days, and those breakthroughs are going to come like they were coming quickly, even without AI. Right? You hear about these impressive developments in healthcare, but then they still have to be tested, you know, blind tested, tons of regulations to go through. So we're going to see plenty of headlines about AI is now helping solve this or early detect that. But the proof will be in the pudding, and that will take time, like with anything in the health industry.
Right. Alex Mashrabov, innovation, of course, is the cornerstone of Collision 2024. Here is what the conference spokesperson, Casey Lau, this is what he had to say about what lies ahead. Let's watch.
I feel like what's going to happen in the next few years is going to be a big change. The big talk right now in like Silicon Valley is about how the one-person billion-dollar company is coming, assisted by AI. This is something that is changing the world.
So what do you make of that, Alex?
This is definitely a very interesting topic to discuss. On the one side, we can see that AI can do a lot of different job functions very well, from legal to marketing. Although I think it is an exaggeration to say that it is possible to build $1 billion company with one person. I can definitely see that a lot of small local businesses will be supercharged by AI and will be profitable, as AI will help to get bare minimum done. Although I'm not sure intelligence is at the point yet to allow to grow a company to $1 billion.
Awadallah, you know, we're talking there about a $1 billion company, which is run by one person, owned by one person. And of course, that raises an issue which many people have raised, and that, you know, what happens to human beings and the work they do and the jobs that they do. I mean, corporate America is rapidly adopting artificial intelligence to automate work. In fact, nearly half of large US companies plan to use AI within the next year, according to a survey that was done by Duke University and the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. Now, the IMF's Deputy Director of Fiscal Affairs, Ruud de Moy, recently talked about the impact that AI will have on jobs. This is some of what he had to say.
We know that some jobs will not be affected, but estimates suggest that around 40% of all the jobs around the world will be exposed to artificial intelligence. And this can range from positive productivity effects for people on the job because they can use the artificial intelligence, but also some jobs will become redundant and taken over by machines. But for the future, we are facing generative AI, and generative AI is much more sophisticated and has the potential to take over also the more cognitive tasks that are taken by skilled workers. Think of diagnosing test results or writing text or complex programming.
So, Amir, how do you see the impact that AI will have on the job market?
I agree 100%. Like a lot of jobs will be completely displaced by AI. Some simple ones like customer support, for example, I see that one. That one is going to go away in the next 2 years. And there's so many people that do that job. Your job, Anand, is at risk. Like having using technology like the ones from Alex's company. Alex has a company called Higgsfield, and they make these very realistic looking anchors that can have a conversation just like you are having a conversation with me right now.
Right.
So many jobs will be impacted. And the bottom line is this. The governments need to be prepared for that in a way where they need to have new tax regulations that charge these these companies that are very efficient, that have one person running $1 billion company, charge them higher taxes so we can take these taxes and give them back to citizens as universal basic income. That's going to need to happen within the next 10 years, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was going to ask you whether my job would be any danger, but you answered that question already. One of the things we do here, Amir, is that in many instances when we look at the progress of technology, I mean, governments, even local authorities, have encouraged people to switch careers, get training in new things, etc. But from what you're saying, that's not going to even be possible, right?
Yes and no. So I think those of us that learn how to leverage AI tools in an effective way, they can be the leaders of this future $1 billion company that has one person running it. I mean, so we need to learn how to leverage these tools to our advantage. In the same sense, like one of the best analogies is when the computer industry came into existence. Those of us that learned very quickly how to leverage laptops and use them to do our jobs, not only did we keep our jobs, we got promoted and we have better jobs. And those of us that resisted learning how a computer works, they ended up losing their job. So my advice would be, let's learn how to leverage the AI, but also let's not be afraid. I am very hopeful that our governments will still take good care of us.
Right. Andy Mock, AI is also transforming education. I mean, there are major institutions around the world and institutions in China as well that are putting a big focus on AI, the technology, on training, on education, etc. I mean, all the big universities in China, Tsinghua, Fudan, Nanjing, are expanding the number of programs that they will now offer to students who want to study AI. In fact, Tsinghua has an AI hospital. It's called Agent Hospital, where virtual doctors can treat up to 3,000 patients a day. What can you tell us about these innovations in China?
Well, Anand, I think this is a very important area for AI development. Again, I think one of the constraints, besides hardware constraints, data, the training of models, is the training of people. Either they can work on the models or learn how to apply artificial intelligence. And I think here, China is absolutely a leader and very early recognized the importance of this, setting up a number of AI colleges. The example you mentioned about the Agent Hospital, I think is a very exciting application. So it's a virtual hospital. Right. It's virtual doctors, virtual patients, and it can be used to create new knowledge as well as train physicians. And I think this is an example of how we can use artificial intelligence to increase productivity. The other thing related to healthcare I want to say about this is we are also seeing incredibly exciting developments from de novo drug design, where AI identifies, proposes new models for drugs through the clinical development phase, reducing a lot of the bureaucracy to the bedside. So I think this is an exciting area, and China is very well positioned to leverage some of these developments.
Right. Emil, we were talking a moment ago about the concern over the fact that AI could take over many jobs. There is another big concern that you hear from people, and that is their privacy, their ability to protect personal information. Now, we look at quantum computing, for instance. It has the potential to vastly speed up computing processes, and some predict that that kind of sheer power means that the ability to keep our information private could be very difficult on the one hand, or it could effectively disappear. What's your view on that?
I mean, I think our data isn't private anymore. So I don't think anything's changing in that regard. I mean, listen, if you really want to keep data private, don't put it on the internet. Don't put it on your device at all, right? Keep it physical, somewhere safe. But yeah, AI and quantum computing will only accelerate any trend there. I wouldn't say that there's really anything that's going to materially change. Most of your data is already out there.
Okay, so that horse is bolted already.
Yeah, for better or for worse.
Amir Awadallah, you were telling us a moment ago, and I've only got a little bit of time left, but you were saying a moment ago that customer service, for instance, in the corporate world could soon disappear completely. Well, how will that work? Because it's one of my pet peeves, trying to get through to a human being when you call your bank or any kind of company that you want to deal with.
Yeah, so it will absolutely go away. This is not good. I'm 100% sure that that will go away within a couple of years. The new voice AI systems, they are so good, and they're better than human. Like they don't get upset, they don't get angry, they're always calm, and they find you the right answer. They're expert in exactly the type of problems that you're having. And because of that, that's why I predict that the human doing it will always be subpar, and that's why humans will not do that job anymore.
Very quickly, Andy, what are the risks of deep fakes and misinformation? We talked about that a moment ago a little bit, but that really blurs the line between reality and fiction, and we're seeing some of that, especially now when we look at the political campaigns taking place in the United States and elsewhere around the world.
Well, it certainly is a risk, and this is a risk as old as mankind. So with the advent of writing, many thousands of years ago, there was the fear that how will you know someone actually wrote this? And I think that mankind's society will adapt. In the short term, of course, we need to be careful, but I think solutions always emerge, so I'm not overly concerned.
Okay, that is where we have to leave it. We have run out of time. Thank you to all of you for being with us. That's it for this edition of The Heat. I'm Anand Naidu in Washington, D.C.